Ladies and gentlemen, let me be clear with you from the start. Wealth is not a mystery, it's a formula. It's not reserved for a chosen few, it's reserved for the disciplined few who follow the rules. If you want to get rich, stop chasing money and start attracting it by becoming the kind of person who commands value. Money is a result, it's the fruit, not the root, and if you focus only on the fruit, you'll never grow the tree. Value drives wealth. That's the first and most important truth anyone who wants to get rich must understand. Wealth does not come from how hard you work or how many hours you put in. It comes from the amount of value you bring to the marketplace. People often confuse effort with earning, but effort only matters when it's tied to impact. You can work hard digging holes all day, but the world doesn't pay you for sweat. It pays you for solutions. In the real world, money is a certificate of performance. It is proof that you have done something useful for someone else. If you want more money, you have to do more of what people consider valuable. The problem is, most people try to get rich by doing what everyone else is doing, but the market doesn't reward average, it rewards excellence, creativity, and transformation. The more value you create for others, the more valuable you become in return. Value is not determined by how much you like what you do, it's determined by how much other people are willing to exchange for what you do. This means you have to understand people, you have to understand their problems, their pain points, and their priorities. The person who understands the customer best is the one who creates the most value, and the one who creates the most value gets paid the most. Now, here's the challenge. Most people are taught to trade time for money. But time has a cap, while value doesn't. If you get paid $20 an hour, your income is capped by your hours. But if you create something that solves a problem for thousands of people at once, your value and your income scales. That's the mindset shift. Don't just work for money, work to build something valuable, something that multiplies your impact and doesn't depend on your presence. You also have to become a person of value before you try to extract value. This means growing yourself, learning skills, building character, developing discipline, and becoming excellent at what you do. When you become more valuable, you attract more opportunities. You attract better clients, bigger deals, and higher returns. People start to seek you out not because you're convenient, but because you're excellent. Value is a seed, and just like any seed, it must be planted, nurtured, and protected. That seed might look small at first. Maybe it's an idea, a service, a product, or a skill. But if it's valuable to the right people, it will grow. And as it grows, so will your wealth. You don't have to chase money when value becomes your focus. Money starts chasing you because the world always pays top dollar to the person who makes a real difference. So if you want to get rich, stop asking, how can I make more money? And start asking, how can I become more valuable? That question is the key that unlocks everything. Mindset is the foundation of all lasting wealth. Before money ever shows up in your bank account, it has to first take root in your belief system. If you believe you were born to struggle, you will struggle. If you believe that success is for other people, not you, then you'll subconsciously sabotage every opportunity that comes your way. You will never rise above the limits you place on your own mind. That's why mindset is not just important, it's everything. Wealth doesn't start in your wallet, it starts in your thinking. People often focus on strategies, tactics, and tools. They chase the latest investment trend, the hottest business model, or the next big thing. But the truth is, strategies don't work for people with a poverty mindset. Give a person with a poor mindset $1 million business and they'll run it into the ground. Give a person with a wealth mindset a $100 idea and they'll turn it into an empire. Why? Because it's not what you have in your hand, it's what you have in your head that determines your future. Your mindset is the filter through which you see the world. If you see lack, you operate in fear. If you see abundance, you operate in confidence, and the marketplace rewards confidence backed by competence. Your decisions, habits, and reactions are all controlled by your internal belief system. If your mindset is rooted in scarcity, you'll play small. You'll hesitate, you'll avoid risk, you'll settle. But when your mindset is rooted in abundance, you'll take bold action, invest in yourself, and pursue opportunities others overlook. Most people grow up being told what they can't do. They inherit beliefs from people who never succeeded themselves. Parents, teachers, even friends plant seeds of limitation without realizing it. That's too risky. People like us don't get rich. Be realistic. But realism is just another name for fear, and fear is the enemy of progress. If you want to change your results, you must change your beliefs. You have to reprogram your mind to see possibility where others see problems, and understand this, a wealth mindset doesn't mean you just think positive thoughts. It means you think disciplined thoughts. You train your mind like an athlete trains their body. You feed it with wisdom, truth, and vision. You reject thoughts of failure, laziness, and excuse making. You start to believe you're worthy of success, not because of what you've done, but because of who you're becoming. When your mindset shifts, your actions shift. And when your actions shift, your results shift. It's not magic, it's alignment. You begin to make decisions that match your desired destiny, not your current circumstances. You stop reacting and start building. You stop waiting and start leading. Because deep down, you know wealth is no longer just possible. It's inevitable. Your mind becomes your greatest asset, not your greatest enemy, and once your mind is ready, your life will catch up. Solve big problems if you want to earn big money. That's a universal principle, not an opinion. The size of the problem you're willing and able to solve determines the size of the rewards you receive. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, what your background is, or where you started. The economy will always reward the problem solver, and it will reward them in direct proportion to the importance and urgency of the problem they solve. If you solve small problems, you earn small checks. But if you develop the capacity, skill, and courage to tackle the big ones, you put yourself in position to earn life-changing income. People spend too much time looking for the perfect opportunity instead of training themselves to see problems as opportunities. Every successful business in the world exists because someone solved a problem that others were ignoring, avoiding, or didn't know how to solve. Uber solved the problem of inconvenient transportation. Airbnb solved the problem of expensive and impersonal travel lodging. Amazon solved the problem of limited product access and slow shipping. The wealth didn't come from doing something exotic. It came from serving a need at scale. That's the secret. Solve a real problem for real people in a way that makes life easier, faster, better, or cheaper. Big problems often come with big complexity. That's why most people run from them. They're uncomfortable, they take time, they require thought, innovation, and resilience, but that's also why solving them pays well, because few are willing to do it. The bigger the pain point, the more someone is willing to pay for the relief. You have to become obsessed with finding out what keeps people up at night and then position yourself or your business as the answer to that exact issue. This applies to individuals as well as companies. If you're an employee and you want to become invaluable, don't just complete tasks, solve problems, find inefficiencies, eliminate waste, improve systems, increase revenue, and reduce risk. When you do that, you stop being a replaceable part of the machine and become someone the company can't afford to lose. And when you become that person, compensation is no longer a debate, it becomes a reward. Solving big problems also means you must grow yourself big enough to handle them. That's why personal development is not optional. You must think bigger, act bolder, and sharpen your skills until you're trusted with greater challenges. It's not about chasing money, it's about chasing responsibility. The more responsibility you can shoulder, the more you will be trusted with, and trust is the gateway to influence, opportunity, and wealth. So train your eyes to see problems as open doors. Don't complain about what's broken, fix it. Don't criticize what's lacking, create it. Become the person who runs toward challenges instead of away from them. Because the marketplace is always looking for leaders who can deliver solutions and it pays them accordingly, follow universal laws if you truly want to build wealth that lasts. Wealth is not just about hustle or grinding harder than everyone else. There are principles that govern success just like there are laws that govern nature. You don't have to like gravity for it to work. You don't have to believe in the law of sowing and reaping for it to produce a harvest. These laws are not emotional and they're not biased, they simply respond to alignment. When you obey them, they reward you. When you violate them, they correct you. If you want wealth, your life must come into agreement with the laws that produce it. There are spiritual laws and financial laws that work hand in hand. The spiritual laws deal with the inner world: faith, belief, generosity, gratitude, discipline, and vision. The financial laws deal with the external systems: value, leverage, investing, cash flow, and stewardship. When both are aligned, wealth becomes not just possible, but sustainable. That's why someone can win the lottery and lose it all in a few years. They broke the internal laws while enjoying the fruit of external opportunity. Without internal structure, external success collapses. One of the most important laws is the law of sowing and reaping. What you plant is what you grow. If you sow value, you reap wealth. If you sow laziness, you reap lack. If you sow generosity, you reap favor. The harvest doesn't always come overnight, but it always comes. It comes in proportion to the seed and the ground. This means your attitude, your effort, your relationships, and your decisions are all seeds. Wealthy people sow into knowledge, networks, and opportunities long before they see a return. Poor thinkers look for instant payoff. Wise thinkers play the long game because they understand the law doesn't fail, it's just working beneath the surface. Another law is the law of stewardship. You will only be trusted with more when you manage what you already have with excellence. If you're careless with a little, more won't fix the problem, it'll only magnify it. Wealth flows to those who prove they can handle it. This applies to money, time, energy, and influence. Are you consistent? Are you organized? Are you faithful with the responsibilities already in your hands? The person who multiplies what they're given, even if it's small, positions themselves to receive more. The law of belief also plays a critical role. You cannot experience what you cannot believe. Limiting beliefs create a ceiling over your life. Abundant beliefs open the door for increase. Your mindset has to come into agreement with the future you say you want. If your thoughts are filled with fear, doubt, or lack, you'll block the very blessings you're trying to attract. That's why faith is a law, not just spiritual faith, but belief in possibility, in yourself, in the unseen potential of your gifts and ideas. Universal laws are not optional if you want predictable, sustainable wealth. They are the foundation of everything successful people build. The difference between struggle and flow is often alignment with these principles. The more you align, the more life and wealth begin to respond to you without resistance. Not by luck, but by law. Build, don't just work. If your goal is to create wealth and freedom, working hard is honorable, but working alone will never make you rich. You can grind all day and still stay broke if what you're doing doesn't create something that outlives your effort. Too many people spend their entire lives working for money, never realizing that true wealth comes when your money starts working for you. There's a difference between activity and productivity. There's a difference between being busy and being effective. The trap of just working is that you spend your time reacting to needs instead of creating solutions that scale. Building means you are creating assets. You are putting time, energy, and creativity into something that can multiply. That could be a business, a brand, a book, a system, a product, or a piece of intellectual property. When you build, you create something once that can pay you many times. That is the difference between labor and leverage. Labor gives you a check this week. Leverage gives you freedom for life. Most people don't build because they're stuck thinking short term. They want quick results, but true builders think in terms of legacy. They understand that what they build today can bless them, their family, and their community tomorrow. Working by itself has a ceiling. There are only so many hours in a day. Even if you're the best at what you do, you are still limited by your time and your energy. That means your income is capped unless you build something that breaks the time. For money trade, builders don't just sell their time. They create value that exists even when they sleep. They write the software, they design the course, they automate the process, they own the real estate. Every asset they create is like a new employee working for them 24/7 without taking vacations. Building also means you take ownership. When you work for someone else, they determine your ceiling. When you build, you determine your ceiling. Ownership is where real power lies. It's the difference between being paid for your time and being paid for your ideas. Every wealthy person has ownership of something valuable. It might be a company, equity, patents, media rights, or royalties, but they own. You can't build wealth on borrowed time. At some point, you have to own the thing you're pouring your energy into. Builders think differently. They think systems, not just steps. They ask, how can I scale this? How can I make this repeatable? How can I remove myself from the center and still get results? It's not about doing less, it's about doing smarter. It's about positioning yourself to reap long after the work is done. The job may pay you today, but what you build can pay you for decades. Don't just clock in and out. Build something that sets you free. Build something that lives beyond you. Build something that matters. Because working may pay the bills, but building can change your life. Act on knowledge if you want transformation, not just information. Knowledge alone doesn't create wealth. Applied knowledge does. We live in an age where information is everywhere. Books, courses, podcasts, videos, social media. We have more access to wisdom than any generation before us. But access doesn't equal action, and until you move from learning to doing, nothing in your life will change. You can attend every seminar, read every business book, and take notes until your journal is full. But unless you take what you've learned and apply it consistently, you're only preparing to stay the same. There are people with less knowledge than you making more money, living with more freedom, and having greater impact, not because they're smarter, but because they move, they execute, they make decisions. They fail fast, learn, adjust, and keep going. Meanwhile, others stay stuck in preparation mode, always planning, always researching, but never starting. They're waiting for the perfect time, the perfect conditions, or more confidence. But confidence doesn't come before action. It comes after you prove to yourself that you can follow through. Action builds belief. Movement creates momentum. You won't feel ready. You have to move anyway. Knowledge without action leads to frustration. It creates a gap between what you know and how you live. That gap is where discouragement grows. You know you're capable of more, but your life doesn't reflect it. That's not a sign to go learn something new. It's a signal to apply what you already know. Most people don't need more education. They need more execution. They've heard enough about wealth, discipline, and entrepreneurship. What they need is a plan and a deadline. They need to get out of their head and into the field. The truth is, results reward action. You get paid for what you do, not what you know. The marketplace doesn't reward your potential. It rewards your performance. Every breakthrough you want is on the other side of action. Not massive action once, but small, focused, consistent action over time. That's how real success is built. Not by waiting for the stars to align, but by taking the next step with what you have. Acting on knowledge also separates dreamers from achievers. Everyone has dreams, but not everyone has discipline. Discipline is the bridge between what you want and what you create. You have to be willing to work while others wish. To sacrifice when others are scrolling. To launch when others are hesitating. Knowledge doesn't turn into power until it's put to use, and the longer you wait, the more likely you are to talk yourself out of what you were called to do. Action makes the difference, not perfection, not expertise, just movement. Start with what you know, even if it's small. Apply what you've learned, even if you're nervous. Keep showing up, even when you're unsure. Because consistent action on proven knowledge creates exponential results over time, and those results are the true measure of learning.